coming to our site, the people in love. Hello. I want to thank you for breaking the mold and coming to our site. This is where we start the process of taking back our children. They are our children, given to us by a choice made between two people in love and proof of a miracle. A child made from two people, a woman selfishly giving her body up for 9 months to grow and nurture human life and then to bear excruciating pains to bring that baby to our world. A father, the protector, is a strong individual whose job is to at all costs protect the children from evil and harm. The rules and purpose were established in the Bible. It was a miracle, and we are just letting these demons come to our sanctuaries, criticize our lives, insult our roles as parents, and take our kids, never faltering. Yes, we kick and yell, but at the end, the kids are still gone and life of emptiness begins. That sounds so un-American, but more so ungodly. He is pissed those kids are for our entrance to heaven and we are giving them away. Not anymore. It's time to square the devil in the face and take back what rightfully belongs to us, something that only our Maker can do, and won't if you show your faith. CPS is stealing children around the world for profits, and your government is with them. The system is rigged. You can be perfect in every way. We all were in our children's eyes. It won't matter. These are economically inside kidnappings. You need to understand that. True, there are times when intervention is necessary, but that is not who they target. So stop putting yourself down or someone you know who lost a child to CPS. Stand up or stand them up and fight. Fight like a bear would if the cub is trying to be harmed. Learn from the simplicity of animals, which we are far more advanced and way more backward. The children are the future, not a number on a budget report, not an estimated worth. They are our flesh and blood and made from a miracle. Now that you know what's going on, stand with us and fight so no other children will be used as slaves to the system that we are supposed to control. Shame on us. Time to make it right in your home in God's eyes.
Be prepared to hear what CPS is, and after listening, please be ready to act, for we need everyone for this one. This is a problem that affects every person in the world because the protection of our children and the sanctity of family is a universal human right. It is time to take a stand and demand that CPS be held accountable for their actions. The corruption has run rancid, and our children, the future of the human race, are being depleted by trafficking and family ancestry being erased. Not to mention the broken hearts and river of tears left behind in the wake of family annihilation. Why? For what? Money. Money for the soul of a child, and this is determined by a person inexperienced in more ways than one, yet our system allows them to play God. What have we become as a society, when the cries of children fill pockets with riches and breaks hearts of family and we the people do nothing? How do we turn our backs on an issue as disgusting as this? No person should sleep comfortably knowing this is happening. Children crying for their families while CPS employees celebrate their cash bonuses, high-fiving in the halls of justice. Think this is a lie? Look at Social Security Act Title IV and Safe Families Act. They promote the caseworkers to quickly steal these children from loving families in record times. And what did these families do so wrong? Most of them nothing. Have you ever noticed the children that die have been called upon as many as 30 times? That's because there is no money in children who have already been spoiled by true abuse or born to true drug addicts. No one pays top dollar for that. The money is in the perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed good family and upbringing. Yes, instant family. Just add kid for whatever price they ask. No one is out of reach from these demons, and they must be held accountable for their crimes against innocent families. How are judges so freely letting children be erased from the heritage they are entitled to? They inflict on the family the same level of punishment given to a murderer or person society has to eliminate, as they are so wretched existence is no longer favorable. Termination of parental rights is the equivalent to the death penalty in more than one way. Think about that for just a moment. Do you know someone who has lost their children, and if so, is the death penalty a worthy and just punishment? That is on the adults. Why do the children then get punished as well? This system is itself cruel and unusual punishment. This is America. We don't treat living people in such heartless ways. For all this to happen, it's corruption from the ground to the White House. That is the truth. Together, we can raise awareness about the injustices done by CPS and fight for the rights of our children.
There are so many of us affected by CPS corruption, yet we isolate ourselves in shame. Not anymore. AbolishCPS.com has been created to show with force what has happened to us is wrong, and we are not remaining silent. We are the parents of those children you have wrongfully taken. We stand to abolish CPS.
Please stop the real abuse.abolishcps.com.
Welcome everyone to the first show where we will sit here and discover and let CPS know that we mean business. All true business. But I'm not a scared pussy. And we are all real people here, live, and we're about ready to uncover these corrupt son of a bitches from stealing our kids. I got a whole panel of people ready to talk right here. And it's going to start just like this. We got our friend Misty right here from Montana. We got Candace, right? Montana, right,
Yep.
Misty? Yeah, we got Candace from Alabama. And then we got Gene and Meg over there in Missouri. So here we all are, guys. Welcome. It's our first show. We're going to try to do this thing. All of us have been affected by CPS in one way or the other. I know we have all come from all kinds of different walks of everything. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I know we said that we weren't going to do that, but I guess maybe we should, just because. Maybe just give a little insight of who we are, what we came of. I'll start with me. My name's Darren. I'm from Maine. My daughter was taken from CPS from us due to crimes that were dismissed. Actually, they were alleged crimes. It was a complete hoaxy thing. The caseworker, her father was the former attorney general for the state of Maine. So she definitely was. She definitely had some friends in higher places. That way she could get herself up. I doubt that she was going to be a caseworker forever. But in this part of her journey, she was a caseworker. And she happened to come up against me. I sent a podcast out. I sent a podcast out. That's our daughter. That went against them. And once I did that, the state of Maine broke every law, rule, thing, everything that they possibly could. They TPR'd myself, and then they also TPR'd my wife for no other reason than the fact that she supported me. And she supported me because we're a family and we love each other and we love Nina and we're going to get Nina back. And the state of Maine and their CPS, they can't stand the fact to have a happy family. So this is why I do what we do. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know who wants to go next, but whoever does, go ahead. I don't know, Misty, you want to go next? Candace?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah. So
All right.
I'm Misty. I'm from Montana. My two daughters were first originally taken from me in July of 2020. They are still currently out of my home. My case will be open 3 years next month, and in the past 3 years, they've been taken from me 4 times. And now CPS is pushing for guardianship over false allegations that there's no proof to back them up. And now CPS is coming after me because I'm actually speaking out and trying to get families to do the same.
Hey y'all, I'm Candace Edwards. I'm from Alabama. My situation is a little bit different. Mine actually started because of the fact that I have a federal class action lawsuit against Randolph County due to debtor's prison. And because of the lawsuit that I do have going on, it actually kind of overlaid with the family situation. There actually wasn't a search or seizure. There was no removal of the child. There was no police call. There was no CPS call or anything like that. They literally, by all means, all purposes, they actually stole my child. So there's a lot of corruption that's in my case. I'm not going to sit here and go through that right now because that, is not the time. However, if you want to know more about, my case, you can, look me up on Facebook, or you can reach out to me through my email, which is a small person with a huge voice. Y'all, and I do apologize about my pets. This is Mama right here and baby's over here. But yeah, so I'm here with Darren, Misty, and Jean and Megan, all standing up trying to fight for the rights of our children. They have a constitutional right just like we do. They are, individuals. They are living souls just like we all are. So, next.
How do I get up? Oh, awesome. Hey. Can you hear me clearly? Or is it... Come back to me in a minute, Darren. Back. Come.
What's going on in your situation? What have you found that works, doesn't work, this, that, or the other? Like, what would you, if you're going to give some information to people, what would you say the worst thing possible you could do is what?
I honestly didn't hear the first half of what you said.
It probably wasn't that important. So don't worry about that. But if I were to ask you the absolute worst thing that you could do when you're dealing with a CPS case, what would it be?
The worst thing, do not ever let them in your house. I wish I would have known then what I know now, because when my case first started, I thought you had to let CPS in your house, but you don't without a warrant. So do not ever let them in your house unless they show you a warrant.
Right. That's and that's a known fact, right? Like that's you do not have to let them in. That's like what do they call it? The castle law?
Castle doctrine.
Is it the castle law?
Castle doctrine law.
Yeah, we got. Hey, Laird, you're back. You're good. All right, why don't
Can you hear me now?
Buddy?
You can.
Yeah, you're all good. Why don't you go ahead and give us some introduction, man?
How you guys doing? I've got a case. I've literally pulled all the pieces y'all pretty much need. Been over 10, 15 years fighting this. It began for me in 2002. Partners getting set up illegally for crimes that they didn't do. But entrapments, call it what you want. It's been fighting for so long. Now the government decided they want to take and kidnap my kids and rape my kids and throw me in prison to hide the evidence, try to bury me, try to break my mind, just try to destroy it. That's really what's happening. But we can't lay down, brother.
No, sir, we can't stop fighting. These kids deserve it. They deserve us. Meg's got a pretty awful story too, but awful in the fact that she's standing up and she's fighting too.
Yep.
Meg, what's your story? Let everybody know. Let them all hear it.
Say what, brother?
Let me get a little bit of Meg's story. Let's let
Okay.
Meg tell Meg's side of the deal. She's gonna.
I started out because I was trying to give my child mental health care, and they said, "Oh, it'd be easier just to set up a CPS case." I'm like, "No, I don't want a CPS case." Then the friend who I thought she actually ended up giving my daughter 2 CPS.
And you actually get retaliated on, don't you?
Yeah.
Like we did a show. We did a show.
Over 21 years we've been friends, and she bailed on me and took my kid and put her in CPS care.
Well, I know this week, since we got our ship down here to Missouri out of Minnesota, they stopped her child support payment, pulled the checks back. They've been just creating havoc under the financial plan.
You know, the guy who was trying to make it so I could come down here set me up. My wallet.
It just shows. Yeah, like this girl. We did an interview with these two. I don't know. It was about a month ago, and she started having people break in her house. She started having all kinds of like things going on. I mean, it was sick. And I mean, I don't want to use this but Megan is a little bit hearing impaired, and her children have some issues.
We have
and
two
this just shows how
informants on my
sick.
case too, and one of them
Yeah.
is my ex's sister.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. It's
And
disgusting.
we
These
only
people have no
parted on our
boundaries.
team. They're trying to take she got my kid taken away too.
No, it's freaking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I mean, I don't know where to even break this in. Laird, why don't you break down the government, how the government works?
Let's just keep it basic and simple then. I like that idea for real. How shall we begin? Let's start with the
Put
legislation.
that email.
Let's understand what the legislation is. That is a business, incorporated business in the state and the federal and the international, by the way. Incorporated means any number over 8. That would be under the IRS, dead, fictitious entity. A living family would be 7 persons and below, and therefore not under the authority of government, but are the authority over government. Legislation makes policy and procedure not upon the human people here, for we are the creators of our government. That makes it our child. The child has decided to get out of its box and get unruly, which it's done it before. Not every 100 years it occurs. But legislation makes policy procedures upon the state, not upon the people, and therefore it can only be applied under the administrative rule. Administration means to apply unto oneself, no others. It's as simple as an employer's rule. You go up for a job, you're to follow them rules, right? That's who's paying. That's what time you contract. Otherwise, you leave work. That work policy don't matter no more. I can't send McDonald's people over into Hardee's people and try to apply their policy in their house, Of course not. They laugh at them, kick them out of their houses. Yes, in your all's door. This is your house. This is your business. This is your home. You've got every reason and right to protect that thing. And bad thing these social workers don't. Yes, I tell people. 1, if I have to whoop a cop, you can bet I will. Save my kid every day. But here's the point. This is my business in my home. That is their business wherever their office is. But when you step over into my business, I am the administrator. Like you go to court, they say no substance, no firearms. Well, they're claiming they're the administration over a public domain. It's your domain. Well, they take it back to your car or whatever. The cop or social worker comes to your door, do the same exact thing. Either you
Right. Well, the police,
Huh?
the police, just like Misty was saying that earlier. The police have no jurisdiction when they come there, right? Like
No.
when they have the caseworkers come, they have no business. Like they're just there as a,
They don't
Support.
do anything.
making sure
Well,
intimidation, right?
that's why we're going to armed criminal kidnapping.
Which is what USC code what?
18 USC, I'd have to look. I'm thinking 2300 section.
Now I'm waiting for Candace to fire it out of her mouth. stuff flies out of her mouth like no tomorrow. I was like,
but here's one of the biggest things I'm noticing is these Amber Alerts and their emergency broadcast relay systems, which is tied to, which literally is your civil defense.
Right, which is not supposed to be that at all, right?
No, it is supposed.
They're not supposed to be using it. That's supposed to be if we have like a national emergency, if
weather situation,
all of that stuff, right?
A weather situation.
Not to be used against a parent that has now gone and taken their kid back out of custody from Child Protective Services, right?
That is correct. What we have here is you got to call it tyranny and treason. Let's just let's call it for what it really and truly is.
Yeah, it definitely is treason. It's treason upon trespass on information, trespass on property, trespass on kidnapping. I actually figured out where the trespass of information comes into play with my whole situation. Mine actually starts back in 2003 when they did what was supposed to be my adoption with my adopted father. However, it wasn't an adoption. It was actually a legitimation. So they used the information of my adoption as a child to turn around to use it towards my children.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it shows 2 generations as well. It's a second generation because I myself was actually a foster child as well.
And I'm glad she actually mentioned that because what I'm dealing with is a secondary child sex rape cases upon a secondary generation of its family by gay rights lobbyists. Unfortunately, this is the other half of Edwards and Jones, the biggest investment company in the country. It's going to have to split. They think the brokers, well, that's your pedophile area. They're making money off our money. That's what they do. They're supposed to make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
But, they screwed up.
Well, so since we're all right here, let's do like basics 101. Let's explain. Everybody says this. I got rights. They don't have any rights when it comes to CPS, right?
Yeah,
let's just be real. That courtroom, the courtroom that we're operating under is not the courtroom that you think it is, right? Let's be honest and let's explain that to everybody before everybody gets deeper into this show with us and comes down the line. They're like, oh, but I have the freedom of this and freedom of this. Yeah, you do, but not in this courtroom.
Actually,
because number one, family courts are just satellite bunk courts anyway, right? They're not even a legitimate actual court system, I don't believe. But also, they don't work under what people consider the common law, right? Which common law is God's law, the law that we supposedly go by, the law of the land, the supreme law, and all of that. That we don't use this, So when people say, "Oh, it says I have my rights and this, that," no, you don't, because why?
You do have your rights.
What is it?
But you just don't know how to use it.
Please go ahead.
You do have your
right.
You do have your rights. The thing about it is, the people have actually forgotten who we are as a whole.
Yep.
We are the ones we are their employers. Okay, we're the ones that buy their houses. We're the ones that pay for their cars. We're the ones that pay for these nice tucks that they have. These nice steak dinners that they go out. When they're out with their buddies and drinking and doing whatever.
Big fancy cars and big houses they're drinking. Hey, wait,
yeah.
They get child support, they get food stamps, they get housing. Guess what? That's fraud.
Man, I don't even get housing.
That's stealing from the people. You're a servant. Don't make you they take it away.
Right. But we all say this, but I say it all the time. Okay, we know this. How? What do we do?
Well,
how do you get into
this?
So how do you get?
I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring up our sheriff because our sheriff is the most important person in this whole entire situation. And I'm not going to say person. I'm going to say actor.
They don't do nothing.
See, here's the thing, though. The sheriff, in fact, when everything goes to hell in a handbasket, okay, the sheriff is who's the ones that actually leads the militia, okay? And to bring this all up.
No, what happens when you have power, sweetheart?
And also, while I'm going to go ahead and bring this up, it's actually the sheriff's responsibility to make sure that each and every inmate that goes into a jail, that they have due process. What due process is a procurement or a grand jury trial. And we don't have those anymore. And it's time for us to start enacting our powers and bringing these up. I mean, in my situation, I'm telling you right now, I've done called everybody in the world except for the sheriff. And I'm going to tell you, I personally have not heard any other parent go to the sheriff, especially when it comes to a kidnapping situation.
They were aiding and abetting in a kidnapping.
Did you put charges on them? Did you go to the ranger? Did you go to the state marshals?
We'll put it this way. Mine's caught. They're waiting on that case to file. I'm filing a direct kidnapping in violation of custody.
So here's the deal with the sheriffs, right? Like, we talked to Rick Martin quite a bit. Now, Rick Martin says, you got to go, it's time that we re-educate, right? Like, we got to educate because these people have forgotten. So what we've done here, I'm sure we'll get them on somewhere, is you got the Anderson sheriffs 1 and 2. Now, according to them, right, we're supposed to bring these to your sheriff's office, set these down amongst some people, and tell these sheriffs, get up to date on what you're supposed to do. Because inside of here are these rules, and I don't want to say the wrong words, but the things that these sheriffs are supposed to abide by to protect us, the people, right? Like, the sheriffs are our first line of defense.
Okay, so I've actually got a letter that is written out to the sheriff that I'm actually going to have printed tonight, and I'm actually going to have this mailed out. I'm not going to do like the regular mail. I'm actually going to have it to where he has to sign for it. I'm going to read part of it. I'm not going to read all of it, but the part that I'm going to read particularly details what his job is. But it says, Dear Sheriff, today I'm writing you in hopes that you will see what it is that I need your assistance dealing with. A crime that has happened due to individuals who feel like that they have the ability to take matters into their own hands. I'm putting you on notice to let you know what has happened right here in Etowah County, Alabama. You took an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, not only as a soldier, as I have. Also, you swore to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. You swore to protect it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. We are dealing with tyranny, treason, and domestic terrorism right here on our home soil, right here in Etowah County, Alabama. I'm dealing with a kidnapping and child trafficking situation. These atrocities are being done on a daily basis by leaders who are in Etowah County, Alabama. Etowah County Department of Human Resources social worker Brittany Stoddard has committed trespassing crimes against your citizens here. I want to show you some things that are going on, but I'm not sure if you're aware of the many Alabama administrative codes that are being violated, as well as the state constitution. I hope you're a man of your word. You signed an oath that states, I hereby do solemnly swear that I will support and defend this Constitution for the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God. The law of the land consists of the Constitution written by we the people under the authority of God to empower, control, and restrict government servants. Common law, which is written by God in the hearts of men, and the constitutional statutes, which are written by legislators. Any statute or code outside the aforesaid, and there are many, is null and void, and that is why we need a constitutional law protector who knows the difference. Hopefully this is your standing. If a sheriff must depend on a lawyer to determine the law, it is no different than the law. It is no different than giving he or she your badge and the responsibility for your oath. That is not honoring your oath. Lawyers already run our government and have the people ratchet down in unconstitutional codes, statutes, and illegal warrants. Therein is the problem in a nutshell, and the reason we need sheriffs who know the law. In order for statutes to become the law, the legislators must be given the authority by we the people, which is found under Article 1, Section 8, which is restrained by Article 1, Section 9, the Bill of Rights. This is where the sheriff's attention should be. If Congress writes the statutes outside of Article 1, Section 8, or statutes of violation Section 9, or the Bill of Rights of the following general rule of the United States Supreme Court is to be applied, and herein is the power of the county sheriff. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly discovering the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. No warrants, including federal warrants, are to be served without going through the sheriff's office. Any warrant without sworn affidavit and a judge's wet ink signature, not a stamp, is not an executable warrant. It is the sheriff's duty to make sure that all warrants, federal or state, served within their county passes a constitutional scrutiny. The common law is the real law, the supreme law of the land. The code, rules, regulations, policy, and statutes are not the law. That's Self versus Ray. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, property without the process of law. A similar provision exists in all the state constitutions. The phrases the due course of law and the law of the land are sometimes used, but all three of these phrases have the same meaning and that it applies conformity within the ancient and customary laws of the English people or laws enacted by Parliament. That's Davidson versus New Orleans. Due process is an unalienable right that protects all of our rights. If due process is lost, the only remedy left by the people is the Second Amendment. It is the sheriff's duty to make sure it doesn't come to that. Due process requires a lawful warrant before a person's property seizure. Many people have been abused with unlawful warrants. A void order is incurable void, and all proceedings based on the invalid claim or void act are also void. Even a decision of the higher courts, High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court will be void if the decision is founded on an invalid claim or void act, because something cannot be found on nothing. Lord Denning in McFoy versus United Africa Company Limited.
Okay, hold up, Candace. Let's hold that right there because that's awesome. Let's strike on that. We're going to take a quick few minute break right here, and we'll come back and let's pick up from that void order thing. I think that's a great spot for us to back up from, because I think that's something that everybody needs to hear.
Big time.
I intend to embarrass this government entity to the very core.
Something needs to be done because it's not right that they can just go ahead and remove your kid. And I mean, our daughter hasn't even been away from us for more than a day or two, or an hour or two, let alone 2 weeks now. And this just isn't right, and the facts prove it.
I will make sure that my daughter has nothing but the best for the remainder of her life. This kid had the world by every aspect that you possibly could. She was given every chance to become whatever she wanted. We talked daily about her becoming an astronaut or a pilot or, something that was just an amazing feat for her. And she knew the sky wasn't just her limit, man, space was. And my word is, the only thing she needs to be the best for the rest of her life is her mother and I. So let's do the right thing.
Gives them the right, some guardian alignment that she's spoken with her maybe once, twice, 3 times that she's
a vendetta, an homage, I don't know what you want to call it, but she's got something under her that's driving her to remove this kid from our lives. Well, she's inexperienced. Inexperienced is what you're going to toss this to? You're going to give an inexperienced person the keys to my world, my heart, our everything? Inexperience is people that burn a pizza. Inexperience is bumping your car into something else, because you're an inexperienced driver. Introduced as a third wheel into a kinship family, which I'm thankful for, but that's not her own. She's not with her own mom and dad. She's not even allowed to have her own things. Kaylee Leedy doesn't allow her to have gifts from us. Kaylee Leedy doesn't allow her to even take home simple food things from us when she visits us. It is brutal, absolutely brutal, not having Nina here in my life right now. I would rather sit behind a jail cell door and wait until that moment that I can be with my family again, and that would at least be something. But to sit here and know that she's the one that's suffering, this punishment isn't in my behalf, this is on hers. Now, I made a mistake, What CPS has done and are doing to our family is tearing us apart. In the framework of the investigation, it states clearly, do not recommend further investigation of this family. So why was it taken to that level? And why was it that my daughter was in such imminent danger that it took 8 days for the department to come and pick up my child after being ruled imminent danger? Tell me this. If you lie, you cheat, you steal, I don't want you in my life. DHS is full of that. I don't want them in my life. Help me get them out of my life. Because these people are people that I don't want to be around. I don't want them to have my daughter, get Nina, out of our home and put her in a place that they screened. Do you know how long they screened? They screened her. They screened the family for no more than 2 hours prior. It took me 32 minutes to pull up the history of this family and find out that they operated under voyeur cameras, had porn websites, had all kinds of things going on there, that their kids that they had living there had witnessed their father get murdered by their mother, their faces stabbed off, they burnt the house down that they were living in, and this is where they put my 3-year-old daughter that was in imminent danger. Think about the things that Nina has seen now that we shadowed her from and sheltered her so that she never had to go through these things. Tell me now who needs to get the stanchion. Tell me now who's committing the acts of neglect and abuse. Tell me now. Tell me now who's going to look at Nina in the face. Tell her that she can trust her dad and her mom, and it was their mistake. I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4. Nina. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nina fell on the floor. Where you fall? Just don't be alone. What do we got to do to that, buddy? Huh? Beaners. Beaners. Hey, Nina. Hey, look it. What we got to do? What we got to do to your boo-boo? How are we going to fix it? You going to put the Band-Aid on? Okay. What else do we need to have? Some chocolate? Should we call Mommy and get a slushie? You don't think that will help? You want me to call Mama? Get a slushie? What color? About that. Now I'm pissed. I'm mad now. That makes me mad. But let's go back to this, what we were just talking about, Candace. You were just talking about
the void order. That void order, I think, is going to be very important. I know you and I have talked about it for a long time. So why don't we explain what this void order thing is all about?
Okay, so there's actually several things that a void order itself due process that makes an order void. Um, you got substantive and procedure process, which also makes your orders void. I've got to pull it up. I wish you would have told me before, and I would have done it. Already had it ready. But let me see if I can find that real quick. Oh, y'all! I just tried to share our link on Facebook, and it would not let me do it. It told me I was in trouble for 4 hours because I didn't follow the guidelines. So we're already being blacklisted. Just to let everybody know.
Well,
Yeah,
I shared it, and everyone's telling me that it's a private page, so nobody can see it.
sounds like we're getting blocked.
Yes, we are.
That's in
Yeah, it's it says we're streaming and it says that we're public on everything if you look at the destinations, that's for sure. I just sent everybody the YouTube ones. I'm sending that to you guys right now. That's the actual link that YouTube is playing. So let's try that. So we'll see if we get everybody can do that here. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's intentional national security.
Now they're blurting me out. They're doing some funky stuff with my sending.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm definitely being blacklisted, especially when I go try to discuss the Fidelity accounts.
It says not found.
Did you go? So go to Did you go? I just sent the link.
Yeah,
I just sent.
Yeah, not found.
Really? That's crazy. Does anybody else have that? I mean, obviously, I can see it. I'm gonna pull it up on one of these.
I can see it on my other computer.
So it's coming up still. All right, so that's good.
So it's just intentional to us.
Yeah, well, well, no, because it's probably messing with all of us individually. You know how this goes.
Well, actually, what we were talking about earlier. If when Candace is done, I have the floor.
Okay, so here we are. The real big deal, the real issue in void judgments is subject matter jurisdiction. Remember, subject matter can never be presumed, never be waived, and cannot be construed, even by mutual consent of the parties. Subject matter jurisdiction, two-part. Hold on. The statutory or the common law authority for the court to hear the case and the appearance and testimony of a competent fact witness. In other words, sufficiency of pleading, subject matter jurisdictional failings. Number one, no petition in the record of the case. That's Brown versus Van Kuren. Number two, defective petition filed. That's Brown versus Van Kuren. Fraud committed in the procurement of jurisdiction, Friedman Brothers Furniture versus Department of Revenue. Fraud upon the court in Revillage of the Willowbrook. A judge does not follow statutory procedure, Armstrong versus Ochino. Unlawful activity of a judge, Code of Judicial Conduct. Violations of due process, Johnson versus Zerbis. As well as you got the Pure Oil Company versus City of North Lake, as well as Halberg versus Goldblatt Brothers. And says if the court exceeded its statutory authority, I can't exactly pronounce it. It's Rosenthal, I'm thinking, versus Rosenthal. Any acts and violations of 11 U.S.C. 362A in Re of Garcia, where no justiciable issue is presented to the court through proper pleadings, Ligon versus Williams, where a complaint states no causable cause of action against the party, Charles versus Gore, where any litigant was represented before the court by a person, law firm, that is prohibited by law to practice in that jurisdiction, when the judge is involved in a scheme of bribery, the Almond cases, Bracey versus Warden. And then you have where a summons was not properly issued. where service of process was not made pursuant to the statute and Supreme Court rules, Deneau versus Bacon, and when the rules of circuit court are not complied with. That's all. Again, that's for the subject matter jurisdiction for a case to actually be null and void or void ab initio, if you want to take it that far. Let's see, where was that? Okay, so do y'all want me to read the rest of this letter, or because I mean it also touches on like the parental rights.
We got short attention span, so I mean, kind of hit the lights if you want.
Okay. Well, okay. So basically, I'm just gonna read the case law. But that way y'all know, huh? They're not long.
But they don't know what to do with case law even.
Okay, so basically, case law is what they use in court for them to kind of go by. For them, I guess you can say, like rules type thing. If it's already been in Supreme Court, that's what they follow. So, I guess that's your more or less your precedent cases. Okay, so we got. Let me scroll down. All right, so in the wake of Griswold, the court expanded substantial due process jurisprudence to protect panoply of liberties, including the right of interracial couples to marry, 1967, the right of unmarried individuals to contraception, 1972, the right to abortion, 1973, the right to engage in intimate sexual conduct, 2003, the right to same-sex couples to marry, 2015, which we all know that, you know, those are very controversial issues that we are dealing with. However, again, you know, that's like the families, and honestly, that shouldn't even really be a controversial issue. It should be natural that you don't go take somebody else's child just because you think that they're not raising their child the way that you feel like you would raise your own child. Nobody has the right to do that. So it's the Supreme Court and the Ninth Circuit precedent established that a parent has a constitutional protected liberty interest in the companionship and solidity of his or her child. That's Kelson versus Springville. Defendants could not lawfully seize a child without a warrant or the existence of probable cause to believe the child was in imminent danger of harm. Woolley versus City of Baton Rouge, where police was not informed of any abuse of the child prior to arriving at the caretaker's home and found no evidence of abuse, where their seizure of the child was not objectively, reasonably, and violated the clearly established Fourth Amendment rights of the child. That's Morris versus Dearborn. The right to procedure due process violated. The state denied the plaintiff the fundamental right to a fair procedure before having their child removed by the intentional use of fraudulent evidence during the procedure. That's People versus Bennett. Reversing the conviction of the teacher who violated law, the court held that the due process clause protected the power of parents to control the education of their own children. That's Lawrence versus Texas. Something I do want to touch bases on is the Chalksville versus Granville case, where it literally states that the care and the custody and the control of the children, that's our responsibility. The state doesn't have the rights to actually step in. They're actually crossing boundaries when they actually do that.
That is so true. Or just actually, I've got you to the point where the judges, the officers, everything, as well as illegal trespass upon information of person by credit bureau investigation before even taking a child, which resulted in proving that the child was never in danger. This was extortion and ransom of kidnapping. In fact, I actually produced in legislation, Missouri's RSMO 468.040, which they have now changed due to the fact they knew they were going to get their butt handed to them here under a ransom act and note under kidnapping compliance. Legislation provided your kidnapping ransom notes. I still have a copy of it. And here's the thing about your case laws. They must always apply until the date of which this happened. You cannot apply it on any other date except the date of its occurrence. Since you've got to backtrack the laws to the case law. It's one fact that most people forget. A couple other things. I started with Judiciary Committee legislation before. They only make rules unto themselves under administrative rule. That's just the rule about administration. If you don't work for them, tell them I don't work for you. Get the heck off my porch and go away. Especially if I didn't call you. Secondary, you got Judiciary Committee.
I do
Go
want to
ahead.
say something real quick, Gene.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, this is a contract that you are dealing with. They do not tell you that they're putting you into a contract. So when these folks come to your door, tell them you don't contract with them. Tell them to get off your property. They are trespassing, and if not, you will call the sheriff. I mean, it's as simple as that. If not, I mean, lock and load is all I can tell you. If we
It's a
have the right to protect our families.
Well, actually, that dead entity and living entity IRS identifies that exact fact. I'll finish what I was saying about judiciary. Okay, we got to understand what we're dealing with here is we got a state, we got a federal, right? You got county, you got cities, you got all this. Everybody's court judge is within its own jurisdiction. Does this make sense for you all? In other words, I'm going to complain exactly back to the people who just abused me. But they're all paid out of the same revenue, same bank, whether it's the state's Department of Revenue or the county or the cities. It's still the same people. But a lot of now the problem you have to understand here is there has been a FCC communication breach violation situation that does entail national security. And Candace, that is your territory, man. You want to notify them that FCC, National Security Administration.gov, and the DoD has informed us that it is not their problem, that the Amber Alerts, which is the emergency broadcast signals, have been weaponized against the parent and targeting. The problem is they're not issuing against government agents, anybody's non-biological parent or grandparent or family. They're only identifying, lock and loading on family. Under the Amber Alert documentation, which I must file sometimes, it states that a parent cannot be charged under any action of kidnapping of their own child. It states it in their own documents. So why are these people not doing their job? They call it training. Well, I call it a bigger problem than that because here's what I have. Here recently we had the Amber Alert issue out tied to the governor's office. Now, understand, the governor is what you call the executive branch director of your state, just like a president is in the federal. He is his lawful authority is over top all means of enforcement, means officers, social workers. That's your problem. Your problem is the governor and the Department of Revenue, as well as the county. Most of you can file a county complaint with the administrative districts directors, and you need a formal complaint because it's got to be formal. It's the only ones that will go to a compliance officer. Otherwise, what they're doing is saying you're not making a formal complaint. They're just wasting your time. And that's what they're doing. I just got off the phone with Minnesota directors over in Wright County, and we had a little conversation about that because I explained to them it's like this. I go after Security Exchange Commission bond, which means to be a government contractor like I am, I'm required that bond to be placed there within the Security Exchange Commission in case of any damages, any harm, any bad actions as a business. It's supposed to be there to pay the people. Well, there's the problem. Like I told the county district manager, I'm here for your bonds. I understand it's a treasury agent you're going to need a hold of. But the biggest problem was when I talk to security bonds here in the country, I got the task force, they're immediately all fired. It takes 21 days to do this. An SEC complaints violation, investor fraud, action against the people, treason. These people are brokers, is what your problem is. And social services are so full of every department, as well as they are tied to the bar, the governor, every department, and the council of governor, this department, agency, divisions, because they all work for the same company, called the state, everything in the federal. There's a big problem right there. That makes your governor fully liable for that damage. what me and Candace found that one day was we was doing some hunting and everything else, but we ended up in uscode.house.gov over in human kidnapping and trafficking. Title 22, Chapter 79, Section 7109A. And it identifies the proper party for lawsuit here, which is, in fact, the president, the governor, national security director, and the economic advisor of state. It properly identifies liable parties. That is your problem. But he's also working Department of Agriculture to separate you from your child as if you were an animal. We're not animals, people, but if you want to treat us like animals, you can't blame the animal for what happens. Just remember that. You might put it down, but regardless, one thing people have to realize, one, you go get the city's zoning planning maps. They have them in county, city, state, federal. Now, those identify industrial, commercial, and I mentioned state versus church. We are under church, the living entities. They are dead entities incorporated. Therefore, they cannot be harmed. We are the victims, and we are the power. Just like separation church and state means this must be separated. But on the same point, it's one of the things an officer does not have power to engage with an individual for no reason. Because he requires a signed complaint by a living person, not God in their living natural capacity in their life. When he has that, that empowers him under that authority of that victim, being the authority agent of its country, the people. And then that prosecutor should have that same authority. But a lot of times they don't pass that on to the next business. That's where your key is, the business. One business stacking business and business against you. It's prejudice all day. But on the same point, most time you hit the clerk's criminal section, prosecutor's clerk, the man, the actual complaint, they don't have it. They don't have the ability to charge you. The biggest thing is, without that signed complaint by the individual, that prosecutor don't have prosecution power. No power. No complaint, no power, no crown, no stand. That's where it all really breaks down. Most times social workers don't have a complaint. These are false allegations, anonymous. They don't count. When they violate from the commercial mode sector down into the private sector, they violate every jurisdiction right there. Now, if you don't have a complainant, you don't have authority, officer. Prosecutor, you don't have authority. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. We're talking whole crap of nothing but wrongful convictions, false billing, equity, and ransom, and extortion. Extortion is not good. The Department of Revenue is responsible. You're a association here. Unfortunately, that's part of the problem. They represent the state, and the each state which is stolen from these people. That's where your governor's getting power. Governor is the equity of the bank, the head, like the president of the bank. Now, the Department of Revenue would be the bank. Social services would be the tax collectors, officers, tax collectors, all that in the same row. The reason the U.S. Supreme Court room is the law of the land, because all lower courts are equity courts. In other words, billing for services. The law says you got 30 days and you got to attend this court date because you missed the 30-day window to pay the bill. He's handing it over to the prosecutor for legal remedies so they can bill you again.
There you are. You come back now.
But the words are simple as this. How much did they cut out, bud?
All of it. The whole damn thing. So listen, check this out. We're at our 1 hour point. I'm going to tell everybody goodbye for this episode. We're going to flip this episode and we'll come back. But let's start on where you just were. Is everybody cool with that? Missy, you cool coming back? Candace, are you good? You guys all come back for another round?
I'm fine, but hey, listen. Do your little clip editing part, whatever, where he was at, to get him to where he's clear.
All right.
I don't know where I was.
All right.
You just
No worries.
So
if
I'm
you
gonna
have to
sign us.
restart.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm signing us out. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this
You got it,
episode.
brother.
This first one. We're going to come right back to you guys live again, but we're going to end this episode with this. Thank you all so much. We are out. Check us out.
Yeah.
Good evening, my family out there. I hope these messages find you well. For I come with you for the first transmission of hope. We are the United Coalition of Family Fighters. For the last time, CPS has taken our children for profit and destroyed our family heritage and our hearts. Let this be known from this point forward. CPS, you have a battle on your hands that you've never seen before. We are going to attack you from the courtroom, from the computer desk, to the streets where you come and take our children from. Everywhere you turn, from this point forward, you will see one of us. Be afraid. Be very afraid. For those of you who've lost your kids, we are coming. Be hopeful. Be kind to one another. Stand as a legion. We will need you, for this fight will not be easy. And we can all not win it alone. We need to unite, strong, solid, for all to be a part. And when we do so, the destruction of Child Protective Services will finally be achieved. Stay tuned for your next transmission.